confrontational sit-downs, a very random theme party on a boat, and Housewives history being made. Oh yes, it's episode 2 of season 17 of The Real Housewives of Orange County. So before we can break down the episode proper, we've got to talk about something else, because we've got taglines, baby. Of course, we've already had these for like a week on social media, but they weren't in last week's episode, so we're talking about them now. The first big story with these is that they're different. What happened to my creepy music? It's a lot more poppy, and I like it, don't get me wrong, but I'm so insanely attached to the old music that it'll take a little adjusting. We've also got flying digital oranges carrying us through the intro and a blue and orange duotone seascape. Okay. Atlanta also got a new theme song and updated graphics, so maybe Bravo saw Peacock was pulling out all the stops with Miami and Girls Trip and started feeling a little competitive. If it worked, well, I guess that's up to the viewer, so let me know what you think of these new updates. Alright, so let's go through the taglines and parse out the meaning in all of them. First up, we have Shannon. She's been pretty steadily getting these prestige spots since like when she first joined, so this is really no surprise to me. We do now have 3 high-status housewives on OC and Shannon, Tamra, and Heather, so whoever was in charge of decision-making on the order of taglines definitely had a delicate job to do, but I think Shannon was a good choice for the top spot. So her tagline is,
"In Orange County, I call the shots, and it's always tequila."
Got a nice city nod. We don't seem to get those a lot in the OC. The tequila reference was a little ironic, given all of the talk of Shannon's drinking in this episode. It's a cute tagline, I guess, but it will never beat "When life gives you lemons, put 9 in a bowl." Next up, we get Heather, who has been given the shaft with second tagline. Her day in the sun has officially dimmed, y'all, but her tagline is one of the cuter ones.
"I live my life in HD, sharp, bright, and more focused than ever."
It seems like she's trying to brand this HD thing. Okay, it's not her best, but I'll take it. Next, on to Emily. Middle of the pack seems fair. Hers is one of the weirder ones I've heard.
"If you want to waste my time, at least hand me a taco."
Like, what does it mean? I'm hoping it's based on something that happens in the season, because otherwise, what was that? It's a Hall of Famer for one of the worst of the worst. Gina time. Hers might be my favorite.
"The difference between my past and present? Well, that's just apples and oranges."
I love the nod to the object they hold, and obviously New York being equated with apples is not unique to Housewives, but it was a fun reference for me. On to Jenn with 2 N's.
"My core may be strong, but my resilience is stronger."
Def a reference to her yoga practice, and we know that she's had to keep moving through some hard times. I like it, I guess. A noble rookie tagline. And sealing the last spot, my queen, Tamra Judge.
"I might have been on pause, but now I'm ready to play."
This is straight up stolen from Dorinda, which I shouldn't laugh, but it's kind of hilarious. It's a cute tagline, definitely worthy of being stolen. I just feel like it's a little too generic for Tamra. We do get Ryan dressed as a cowboy in her family shot, which is certainly a choice. The orange holding lineup shows Heather and Tamra sharing the center spot, so I guess all is not lost in Heather's world. All in all, I don't think that these were the greatest taglines of all time. Really no standouts to me. Alright, but now onto the episode proper. So we start with the Jenn scene. She's getting drinks with Emily and Gina. She and Emily bond over being Diet Coke girls, which same. They also bond over being from the Midwest, which not same. Gina arrives and talks about her sobriety, or California sobriety, saying that she just feels better without alcohol and doesn't like the way she acts while drinking. I'm happy for her. She definitely looks amazing. She's really gotten to a good place with her hairstyle and seems to really be settling into the housewives lifestyle. The conversation then turns to Jenn's relationship, and Gina and Emily are pretty blunt in asking about the rumors that she had an affair, to which Jenn is super open about it. Like I mentioned about last week's episode, it seems like Jenn got married very young and maybe felt some sense of pressure in her relationship. Like it wasn't so much for her, but for her family. Of course, the best approach is to cut ties with your current partner before pursuing something new, but these shows are showing these people's realities, and we all have handled situations imperfectly in the past. She seems to be really forthright with knowing she messed up and didn't handle it well, so we'll see how it goes. But she talks about her ex calling and apologizing for his role in the situation, so hopefully they're at a better place. I'm sure we'll find out more later. Gina also mentions that she'll be throwing a flamingo theme party on a boat. I don't get the whole flamingo thing. Did y'all? It just sounded like she wanted a pink dress code. I don't know. Explain it to me if you better understand the symbolism of flamingos or whatever. But moving on, we get Heather, as I predicted last week, being super extra about her kids going off to college. I love this. She's so funny. She then fields calls from both Shannon and Tamra, who are on their way to confront one another, stirring things up with Tamra, saying they have very different views on the situation. Heather's a real pro because Tamra is already heated going into the sit down. So then we get to the event I think we were all looking forward to when it was announced Tamra was returning, the big sit down with Shannon. Tamra is like busting at the seams, looking super anxious. After a very long moment of awkward tension, Tamra finally opens up the conversation. To me, Shannon seems super guarded and kind of practiced. Like she'd learned to put up boundaries and really wants to stick to her script, but Tamra just doesn't allow it, immediately pushing back and frazzling Shannon. We get more rehashing of if Shannon was truly there for Tamra and if she's a bad friend. I definitely am getting to the point where I'm ready for this to be resolved. I understand it's their real lives and friendships and things can't just be solved with the snap of the fingers, but I'm already a little exhausted by the whole thing. I think it's clear Shannon wasn't dropping everything to be there for Tamra the way she needed her, but Tamra gave a disproportionate strike attack by trashing her in the press and making it a public feud. I realized while watching this episode that what I really want to see is them just whooping it up and having fun. I miss that part of their relationship. The tension also isn't that high because we know from social media and Tamra's podcast that they're back in a better place, so the situation is just kind of frustrating to me. Do y'all agree? I don't know, maybe others are living for this, but I'm kind of over it already. Moving on, we get to know Jenn a little more with a scene of her at home with her kids. I'm really starting to warm to her actually. She has a chaotic energy, but it doesn't have a desperation tinging it the way that we've seen with some past OC housewives. She also comes off very open-hearted, which I'm drawn to. In this scene, she talks a lot about how she'd foster kids with her ex-husband. She talks about adopting her son Dominic through this process, and they seem to have a very sweet relationship. I'm excited to see more of it. Next, we get Tamra and Eddie working on closing Cut Fitness. We get like an in memoriam style montage of all the moments at Cut, which weirdly stands for Cardio Unique Training. That's grammatically weird to me. But yeah, so she tells Eddie that Emily is the one who reached out to her about Cut closing its doors. She's happy to see Emily trying to build bridges, but is upset that Shannon hasn't reached out, being her best friend and all. But I don't know, I get that she wants her to reach out, but they're just not back to that place, and honestly, Shannon doesn't yet seem super eager to get back to how they were. I wonder if part of it is that Tamra has such a dominant personality, and Shannon doesn't want to go back to being her sidekick. In their conflict, I can really see both sides. Tamra has obviously built up a major resentment and feeling that she's been a massive source of emotional support for Shannon, but that support isn't reciprocated. It's been an issue long enough that it kind of makes me wonder if it's just how Shannon is. Not everyone has the capacity to hold emotional space in a way that we might want them to, and I think sometimes it's better just to accept people as they are and not expect them to change. I know Shannon comes off very emotionally open, but maybe she's just not great at meeting others in that way. Or maybe it's just a dynamic she has set up with Tamra. I know in my life I have people I'm more there for and people that are more there for me. But it seems like for Tamra, having this presumption that Shannon will be that rock for her is just leading to disappointment, so it may be time to adjust her expectations. She and Eddie then kind of trash Shannon. I don't know if this is the best route to go if you want to mend things. Next we get a Shane Simpson sighting. He's been so up and down for me, so we'll see how he is this season. They're on their way to pick up supplies from Gina's house because she has COVID, so cannot attend her own Flamingo Party. Both air some of their doubts about Tamra coming back into the group, which I think may be setting us up for something, but we shall see. Then finally, we get to the big Flamingo Party. They have this uberly long catwalk they have to walk up to get onto the boat, making very dramatic entrances. We start off sweet with Tamra and Emily bonding a bit more, Tamra thanking her for reaching out about Cut Fitness closing, only to have Heather interrupt, wondering if there is a penthouse on the boat. Apparently there is. Heather is like drunk at this party, spilling things and interrupting others. It's kind of funny. I want to see more of chaotic Heather, but then we get the big entrance of Taylor Armstrong. This is truly historic. Unless you consider Peter Thomas to be a housewife, she's the first housewife to jump franchises. I love this wormhole that Ultimate Girls Trip has opened up, as along with Taylor's jump, we'll later see Phaedra as a full-time cast member on Married to Medicine. We also got Candace on this season of Atlanta, and we know Cynthia Bailey was filming in some capacity for next season of Beverly Hills. It's like we've gotten our own cinematic universe, and it's just very fun for me. I don't care if it breaks the fourth wall. We all know it exists, and with shows like Watch What Happens Live and events like BravoCon, it's clear that these women across different franchises are going to meet and form relationships, and I'm glad that Bravo is leaning into this. But yeah, so Taylor's obviously friends with Tamra from Girls Trip, knows Heather socially, and has met Shannon. So the gang is all assembled, sans of course Gina, and Tamra gives Jenn the cue to talk about her adoption story, a very emotional one, to which Shannon interrupts thinking she sees John's son on another boat.
Is that Joe?
Really?
We're talking about a serious about her.
She starts freaking out, having no awareness that this is inappropriate during an intense personal story from newbie Jenn. Tamra certainly has the awareness and makes sure that everyone else realizes what Shannon is doing. I think honestly this is kind of just Shannon. I love her and think she's fantastic television, but she's definitely got a streak of being very self-absorbed. She had a very similar situation with Gina in season 13, I want to say. I think Shannon comes off so motherly that you have this expectation that she has a safe space to go for emotional support, but she just doesn't always have that. So then the conversation shifts to Taylor asking Heather to go with her to acting classes. We know from the trailer that Taylor in some way diminishes Heather's career, so I'm looking forward to that fight. I just love when Heather gets mad about dumb stuff. But then Emily pulls Tamra aside to see if she can let go of some of her anger with Shannon. Heather then approaches, Emily gets a tangent confessional about how she's always interrupting, which was funny, and joins in on riling Tamra up. Emily encourages Tamra to take some accountability, which I agree. I think she should own up to saying some nasty things about Shannon, despite how hurt she was by feeling ghosted. But Emily's prodding causes Tamra to totally erupt.
When I needed her, she wasn't there, and that's the end of the story. So you know what? She can stop.
She's clearly drunk. They all seem drunk, Heather and Tamra most so, but it's really loud and catches everyone's attention. She's upset that she put so much energy into Shannon's needs in the past that it upset her family. This is definitely true. Eddie seemed really anti-Shannon, especially in season 13, in the heyday of this initial drama. But as Emily points out, Tamra probably should have just told her to lay off a bit, but she didn't. I think the thing is that Tamra really didn't mind being there for Shannon. Despite how rough and tough Tamra can sometimes come off, after having really dove into her time on the show, I think Tamra also has a very compassionate side to her that loves to tend to others' emotional needs. But I can understand her disappointment that Shannon doesn't have the capacity to return it back in the way Tamra needs her to. But when Emily prompts Shannon to apologize to Jenn for interrupting her story, Tamra completely unleashes on Shannon, literally screaming, threatening to jump overboard, and hitting Emily with strays. It's nasty. It's clear that there's a lot of built-up pain, and possibly she's using Shannon as a representation of all the hurt she feels towards being fired from the show she helped build for 12 years. She kind of hit a point of diminishing returns and lost the upper hand with this outburst, but she clearly was not in her rational mind. The preview for next week shows that she had a major emotional hangover from this attack, so we'll see how it goes. We also end the episode with Tamra annoyed with Heather for not defending her. We know that the two of them have a major fight this season, so maybe this is some flaring towards that. All in all, this was another great episode. I'm excited to see what Taylor brings into the mix, and Jenn seems to be a great addition. I was missing Gina, though I know not everyone was. I'm also curious about this kind of sloppy heel turn Heather seems to be making. Maybe it was just this one event, but she seems a bit more absent-minded than usual. Not a great episode for us Tamra defenders, but she also gave us a show, so whatever. I'm really ready for Shannon and Tamra to wrap things up and get back to being friends, so hopefully this will come soon. Sorry this one's a little short and late. It was a very busy week for me, but I couldn't leave y'all hanging. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next week. Bye!